This interview is supplemental material to a class looking at the work and impact of illustration and Disney art legend Mary Blair. The class is called Chasing Mary, and if you like what you hear, feel free to follow the link below to learn more about her work and how we can learn from Chasing Mary. Hey everybody, I'm here with Shen, and I'm so excited that she's here with us because I really love her work, and I'm sure if you looked on Instagram, you would too. Her handle is Ann Danger. Sounds saucy. And I'm going to have you go ahead and introduce yourself, Ann, on what you do or what you've done, kind of your career path.
Okay. Hi, thanks for having me on. I am Ann Shen. I am an illustrator and an author. I've written and published books that have been published by Chronicle Books. Bad Girls Throughout History is my first one. My second one is Legendary Ladies. I'm also a full-time freelance illustrator. I have my own shop, and I do work with clients like Facebook and Disney.
Yeah, no big deal. Cool. So, obviously this class is about Mary Blair, but also how she influenced your work. But if you were describing Mary's work to somebody who doesn't know who she is or has not seen it, but maybe has seen it and doesn't even know it, what would you say about Mary Blair's work?
Mary's work is, you've seen it everywhere in your childhood. It is very naive, but beautifully designed and very colorful and very, very appealing. And it basically is a hallmark of mid-century illustration and design.
Yeah. Ooh, good one. When did you start noticing Mary's work?
When I decided in my mid-20s to go back to school and become an illustrator. And it was around that time that I started really noticing the artwork that I've always really were drawn to. And I grew up in Orange County, and my dad worked at Disneyland for over 35 years, like before I was born. So that was always a huge influence in my life, the Disney artwork. And so her work was always there in the background. And when I started looking at the kind of work that I would want to make as a working illustrator and learning who made a living as a working illustrator, because that was a career I didn't know existed, growing up. And Mary Blair's work really stood out for me because it was just so beautifully designed, but so approachable. It felt like you could do it. And that was kind of what was inspiring. But then the deception was that it was so brilliantly designed that, like, the thing where simple is the hardest thing to do, simple, brilliant design is the hardest thing to do. That's totally her thing. So that's when I first started noticing her work.
Did you feel at that point you were in school, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in art school.
I think, something that I really wanted to talk about in this class is the difference between liking someone's work, copying someone's work, and being inspired by someone's work.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times to learn, we copy, but we don't bring that into our portfolio. That is our little practice fun. But how did you feel you were able to take what you saw and you loved and be able to just glean from it? And it might be hard to say because maybe you don't even realize you have done it. But I saw your work and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that she knows who this is and she could talk about it. So how do you do that?
That's such a great question, because I think that's something really hard for people to do in the beginning when you want to just get to a certain level of proficiency and skill level. And I would say, like you said in the beginning, when you practice, you can do master copies just to feel like what it feels like to place those strokes, to design and place where everything is the way she did it. And then after that, though, you have to really study what you like about it, what drew you into it. And for me, it was her use of color, her unexpected use of color, and then the shape, language, and design, and the movement of every piece. And so I would take what I liked about it, like there's a lot of large graphic shapes in a lot of her work, and then some small details of patterns and things like that. So I would apply that to my own work, where I use a lot of graphic shapes in what I do, or and design drives all of my artwork before anything else.
That's cool. How do you do that? How does design drive your work? Like, do you do the layout first? Is it like about composition, you mean? Or the shapes?
Yes. Yeah. It's all about composition and layout for when I'm designing something. It's all about how you're drawing the eye and moving the eye in a piece, because that's how you're telling the story. And so, like, for example, is it a central figure? Is it like just a straight on, like, what do you call that? Just basically a straight on, like, right in the middle composition.
One point.
Like you're just looking at a girl flying, drinking a glass of milk, like in a Mary Blair illustration. Or is it like you're using the rule of thirds, and then where's the central figure that you want someone to look at first, and then where's that person looking? What are they looking at? What's the interaction? What's the story and interaction between both, not just the characters, but the shapes, like the houses or the fields, and how is that directing the eye of the viewer so that it's telling the story of your piece?
That's cold. I hope that everybody was taking notes on that. Something I wanted to touch on with you too, knowing that you've done a book related to women, and you can talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, Mary Blair as a woman who really was a trailblazer. Absolutely. Go ahead, talk about your book and just how you see her doing that.
So in my book, Bad Girls Throughout History, it's about 100 women who were trailblazers and the first in their field to really pioneer things. And Mary Blair is included in there because she was one of the main female artists at the Disney Studios. When there weren't a lot of female artists, a lot of them were relegated to paint and ink roles, where she was actually in a visual development designer role. And I went to this talk that her nieces gave about, in a retrospective of her work, and they told a story about how for the South America trip that Walt Disney took his team on, she had heard her husband was going on it. Mary wasn't initially on it, and when she had heard her husband was going on it, she marched into Disney's office and was like, "I'm going on this trip too." And he was like, "Okay, you're going on this trip too." And that just really, to me, captured the spirit of this amazing woman who was both revolutionary in the way that she designed things and painted and was an artist, and as a person.
Yeah.
That she didn't have limits and see limits.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I'm covering nearly enough of like who she was as a person, because I'm not real. I mean, I don't know. I'm not her niece, but, but yeah, she just seems like somebody that'd be really fun to be friends with and just hear her philosophy on those things. Yeah. Cool. So when I think of, we were talking about how you've probably seen Mary Blair's work and you just don't know it. I had this illustration that I've loved for so long, and I didn't realize that it was her work until a few years ago. It's from I Can Fly, the little girl swimming in the water. Yeah,
I love that piece.
Is there a piece that you can think of that or that comes to mind as your favorite piece of Mary Blair's?
Oh my gosh, as my favorite, that's really hard. That's definitely one of my favorites. The way she does the transparent water over everything is incredible. Gosh, there's so many. That wasn't supposed to be a hard question, even, I bet. I mean, I just really love the design of Small World. That's definitely the most iconic thing that comes to mind. Although she worked on that with like Raleigh Crump and other Imagineers, but just her signature style is really evident through the way that like even the Eiffel Tower is like a little bit tilted and there's like a ribbon hanging off of it. Just things like that where there's so much motion and joy and liveliness in the work.
Yeah, cool. I mean, come on, Small World is kind of a crowning moment. Cool.
Yeah.
I've lost track of whatever questions I was going to ask you. I do remember that, I mean, the way that I'm kind of trying to approach her work is by breaking it down by color, shape, and I don't know whether to call it atmosphere or mood, or just how she handled storytelling, how to bring the viewer in. But of those three areas, which do you think you've been most captivated by?
It was color,
shape,
shape,
use of shape,
and
like landscape, background, visual, storytelling.
I think for me it was color first, but now as I'm moving deeper into my career, a lot of the movement, landscape, mood is now like the deeper level of where I'm appreciating her work and feeling her influence in my work.
Yeah. Cool. Is there anything fun that you're working on that you want to talk about or that you have done that people need to go check out if they're going to know what Shen does? This is it right here.
Well, my 2 books that I mentioned before are widely available. And then I'm working on always developing new book projects because it's just my dream in life to be an author illustrator. And then I also have my own Disney work at Disney's Wonderground Gallery, including a Small World piece.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'd love to go see it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Cool. Well, where can people find you?
Ann-Shen.com or on Instagram and Twitter as Ann Danger.
Okay. Cool. Thanks so much for making the time, and you have so much to offer. Just I'm sure there's going to be snippets of your voice throughout this class, so thank you.
Okay.